Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, Berets, and today I'm going to be talking about my general reviews for units, not just in terms of past, but also in terms of present and future. And for anybody, I would like to give a bit of a shout out at the start of this video to deal with Macho, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name, a user on Reddit who him and a few others did take a little bit of offense, or got a little bit annoyed with my Oldoa review. Oldoa. First of all, to Macho, I actually really like the presentation you have for your unit setups and team setups. Pretty cool, man. I do like it. I hope that you continue with it, and for anybody out there, definitely go check that out. So what were the problems, basically? Let's get into that really quickly before I talk about how I do my review. Basically, I kind of, first of all, my brain farted, and I did not talk about Drain Force on Oldoa. Drain Force is an ability that I hear quite a bit from viewers. It seems to be something that viewers quite a bit like. Now, I really don't have a ton of experience with it because it's mostly not on characters I have really built in the game, and it's not an ability I use a ton. So yes, my fault. Sorry, I knew it was there, and I just kind of forgot about it for the video. So that's my apology. Second thing, resistance. I haven't really talked a ton about resistance in my Oldoa video, which definitely was an annoyance for some people. Some people were like, oh, but you can build her to be this way and this way, and or resilient to certain types of damage. Do you not consider units being that don't have perfect resistance to be not worthy? That's not true. So I feel like there's a little bit of confusion, and I want to, I feel like every once in a while you kind of have to make this video as a reviewer in a gacha game, and especially I feel like I kind of have to make this because this is an expensive gacha game when it comes right down to it. It's not like in the old days of Brave Exvius where you could just get one or, well, heck, even maybe 2 copies of a unit and be pretty good. Here, there's a lot of resources that goes into any of our WOTV units. As a matter of fact, there's a ton of resources that need to go in everywhere, basically, whether you're building vision cards or espers or anything like that. So, what is the things that I primarily look at in terms of when I am evaluating a unit? Because a lot of the time, a lot of equipment can be shared, and there is always going to be in the future better ways of equipping a unit. I don't really put a ton of stock into looking at value of resistances a lot of the time, because for a couple of reasons. One, it depends what vision cards and equipment you have been able to farm/get and how high you've been able to farm/get it. But secondly, it also depends really on what units people are using and what teams you are fighting. Now, okay, PvP, especially live PvP, in Guild War and everything, we don't always get to see what we get to fight. So you don't really have a ton of choice or preparation. You have to be careful about which teams you are fighting. You need to know about what your team can do well and what your team cannot do well about. That kind of makes it a little bit difficult to talk about resistances, because in general, I feel that in WOTV, you should not be building for every situation per se. You should be primarily thinking about, fighting teams that you stand a good chance against, that you are strong against. And yes, that is part of a unit's kit, and their initial resistances and what they are good at versus other units is always good. Secondly, getting back to another point that I want to make is the fact that I think basically most units, especially UR units in this game, can be really good. As a matter of fact, there's strength to talk about lower tier units as well. I mean, heck, Phoebe is a unit that was not on my radar and is not a unit that I primarily use because I've been focused on other units. But heck, Phoebe is really good and a lot of users swear by it. I'm sorry, I don't have the resources to build everything. That is a problem in this game. But I do think that a ton of units are overlooked, primarily because you have to be careful with your resources. A lot of users do not have the ability to build every single unit, and that is a certain point that is valuable in reviews. That is a reason why people come to reviews. But there are people who do get good value off of old. There are people who I swear there has to be someone out there who uses Mashery. And to that point, I have not had the time to really look at all of his content, but I've heard Cabbage, another YouTuber, is a guy who uses Oldoa, a character that I have, but not always do I feel like I have the resources or the time, or she's just not the unit I'm particularly fond of. So yeah, I didn't build her. I didn't get her, but Cabbage does, and Cabbage likes her quite a bit. So there you go. There are units that you can get good things from. There are a ton of units that are just by advantage of being UR as opposed to MR, have much better stats and much stronger kits, and if that's the unit you get and that's the unit you build, yeah, it's great. In terms of now, let me talk a little bit about a key point that I really look at in terms of, which is value. WOTV is a game that I think you lose out on in two different ways. One, being a complete free-to-player. And, I mean, you do get a free game, but in terms of what would be considered fairness in a lot of the content, both PvP and PvE, a lot of users will get smushed pretty easily by incredibly high-end whale teams. And heck, even spending a ton of money and just getting everything in this game is just way too expensive, and I think 8 down. One of the things that I truly think is the best way to play WOTV is to get value off of your stuff. And to that, I do kind of look as to what units are going to be the most valuable for farming, what units that I know have particular value in the future to do with events and event types, but also trying to keep users from just getting, just kicked all the time out of, raid rooms and everything like that, because that is a bad feeling. That is a bad feeling to just have people be snobs. And it happens both on the JP side and on the global side, where you have people who are just like, not an optimized Kane. Kane's the best unit. Yeah, but your Kane's only 89, and that's not quite good enough. I do think that my recommendations are definitely based on my units, because I have a ton more experience with them than I do with a lot of others. I have purposely said that I am not as big of a fan of Oldoa because I really do like Adira, who should be coming relatively shortly for global. Relatively. Adira is an incredibly strong farmer. She has served me as a person who, as a player who did not get Medina for the longest time and still does not have a built one, having just an AoE spam that can quickly clear a lot of farm content is really valuable in this game. She also has, quite a bit of utility. I think she's just really strong. She served me really good. A lot of my recommendations do come from personal experience. It's just kind of the way it is. Many characters as I do have built, and I will admit, I have spent and I have quite a few characters built. I have quite a few more that are just on the lower end that I have not been able to explore. One of the bigger regrets I probably have is just to deal with this character right here, where there's a lot of people who have, come to me and said, look at her resistant, she is really good. And they have made me actually interested to the point where I am really considering, if I wasn't just so backlogged trying to build the characters I've already been investing in, I would actually be really interested in, completing this unit and getting her up there and really trying and experimenting with her. It is difficult to experiment with these units, and a lot of the times I kind of just have to go with my gut feeling about whether or not I think a unit is going to get there, and whether a unit is going to really be useful in the primary part of this game, which is farming. You can tell me about how much you want to, how much the great equipment will get you there, but let's be honest. If there's anything that WOTV has proven on the JP side, it is that it is an unbelievably shitty game to the player. And this is a strong point to make just in this current bunch of farming, where this content is unbelievably stacked into, pushing you towards brand new units that you do not have built, that a lot of players cannot keep up with. It is hard to keep up with the amount of characters that this game expects you to build for not only specific damage types, but specific elements too. There are a lot of events that just shut down other characters. And yes, for example, the more recent raid on the JP side, which was the Twin-Headed Dragon. Spears were the primary thing. Kane was the optimal unit. There were people who got by with extremely specialized and focused teams of slash-based characters. You can do that. You can absolutely do that. There are ways to get to just gank Gummy's awful system that is aimed horribly at players. It is there. There is some strategy room. But I do think that a lot of the time, if you want to partake in the events, if you want to farm some of the equipment that you need to really build some of these characters, you kind of got to go with what character is going to be incredibly long-term value, especially for free-to-players. And that's another thing. I don't make these reviews for, and kind of, I guess, a little bit in my closing point, I don't build these reviews for mid-level players most of the time, and I don't build these reviews I don't build these reviews for mid-level players a lot. I don't build these reviews specifically for whales, because most of the time, if you want it, you could probably just spend and get it. You can recognize when it is good. You are invested in this game enough. Minus some recommendations. I kind of try and focus a little bit more on the free-to-player, the guy who really needs the advice on what characters are probably going to be your longest-term value, which, if you're going to want to play this game for a long time, you're going to want value. There's a reason why I recommended Miranda earlier. I know that she's going to be good in future content where water users are good, specifically Ifrit, which is a stressful raid, to say the least. In the future, having a Victoria is just good. It will be good for not only, it'll be good for King Behemoth if you don't get Glassy. It'll be good for the Twin-Headed Dragon raid. It is just, these characters are good in a lot of different places, and so it's kind of picking and choosing. So yeah, that's a little bit of a chat about just how I do reviews. Don't get me wrong, I do see the comments, and I would like to say that for the people who try to, offer constructive criticism, I do read it and I do appreciate it. I do like it. When you want to be shady or you want to be like a jerk about it, I don't appreciate it. And as a matter of fact, most of the time your comments are going to get removed or just disappear, kind of thing. Not because I don't think you probably don't have a point, but because the way you go about it is so incredibly awful a lot of the times that I don't want to respond or engage because I don't think you're interested in having a discourse. I do appreciate feedback from you guys. This is not my primary job. I'll just make sure that I say that again. This is not my main job. This is something I do as a hobby, a pastime, and I do appreciate feedback. But make sure that it's constructive and not just horrible. And again, just in case, I'll cover my butt on this one. To that user again, Masho, you are kind of the inspiration. I will definitely, in the future, make sure that my videos are more focused on potentially to do with resistances and builds to an extent. But for hardcore builds, I would definitely like it, Masho, if you continue with your content on Reddit, because I actually really, really love your setup. For anybody who hasn't seen it, I will post the link in the description for this video. His Drain Team build for Eldoa, and featuring Stern and Warrior of Lights. Really, really cool. You should all go check it. Well, it's any tank with hate generation, but probably Warrior of Light's better. Yeah, go check that out, because I think that that dude or dudette, depending, I don't know, has done some really great stuff, and I really hope he continues it into the future, making a lot of interesting team builds for that kind of the three-man team content, because that's really cool. That's really awesome. I think that our community is really only going to survive if we help each other out a ton, and that is important. Also, one last shout out. I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep this video relatively short, although YouTube does want us to keep us over 10 minutes, otherwise they beat us. Cabbage, sorry I have not checked out a ton of your content. I don't know if Senpai watches my videos, or Click, or, you know, any of them, but definitely do you, man, and hopefully we'll... I've heard maybe a collaboration might be possible. I don't know, it would be interesting, or at least maybe some live PvP matches, something. So yeah, that's it for this video. Again, don't want this to be a negative video at all. Want to be in a video maybe addressing people's concerns about my videos, saying that I'm always trying to get better at this stuff, but only so many hours in a day, and I work 40 hours a week already on something else. So anyway, thanks very much for watching. Take care. See you next time.